About 3 months ago I made a special S.T.A.L.K.E.R Iceberg for the occasion of my 100th video. Back then I said that I would explain the elements on the iceberg eventually. Well, the day has come. Hello stalkers and welcome to the Anomalous Dugout. In this video we will take a look at the first layer of my S.T.A.L.K.E.R iceberg, the surface. Wolf's Dynamite. After coming back from Lab X18 and the Dark Valley, the player will find out that Wolf left the rookie village, being replaced by another experienced stalker named Fanatic. Fanatic explains that Wolf received a message from a stalker passing by, after which he took his stuff, a box of dynamite, and left. Actually, we can find Wolf in the military warehouses, at a stalker camp in the middle of the area. Unfortunately, he does not have any new interesting dialogue options, so we cannot ask him why he came here. While his motives remain unclear, it is possible to find a box of dynamite nearby, which is used by the duty squad trying to assault the base of Freedom. If the player chooses to help them, the dynamite will come in handy, blowing up the western wall to the warehouses. By the way, you can also destroy this wall using your knife, in case you did not know. Coming back to Wolf, it is very much possible that he gave or sold his dynamite box to duty, but we don't know for sure. In fact, if you come to the army warehouses before completing the quests in the Dark Valley, and thus before Wolf leaves the rookie village, the dynamite box will still already be there. This suggests that Wolf's dynamite is another box, but it also might just be a small mistake made by the developers. Who knows? Fridge jokes. Somehow, fridges are funny. In various places in the games, you can find derelict fridges with an openable door, and even the possibility to hide your character inside. Call of Pripyat took the idea further in the mission at the kindergarten. During this task, the player will have to destroy a jammer that is also the source of Psy emissions, after which he will discover Lieutenant Rogovets hiding in a fridge. Rogovets was scared and confused, most likely due to the effects of the Psy emissions, and he somehow locked himself up in this large kitchen fridge. After coming back to the camp, this situation will lead to some interesting dialogues.
So, tell me, where were you?
You're not going to believe me anyway, but in a fridge. Wow, never heard that one before. A fridge, eh?
What fridge? Where did you find it?
Where did I find it? I'd like to see you find anything in my state.
And what state would that be?
Not quite sure how to describe it.
The poor performance of the voice acting kinda ruins the joke, but I think it is much funnier in other languages. At least it was for me when I played Call of Pripyat in French almost 10 years ago. Apart from this joke, we can also note that fridges can be used as stashes. For example, one contains the legendary Kalashnikov in Clear Sky. Also, the fridge became a deadly weapon in the hands of Bureaus inside Lab X8. Finally, we can mention that some mods continued this strange trend of using fridges, and even I used the trick of hiding in the fridge in one of my campfire stories. Project Truth. We have already talked about Project Truth in previous videos, but for some reason it is not featured in other S.T.A.L.K.E.R icebergs, so here it is. Information about this project is found in a PDA entry called Investigation Report, which is unlocked after stealing the military documents in the Agroprom Institute in Shadow of Chernobyl. The documents explain that Operation Agroprom was an official investigation carried out by the SBU, the Ukrainian Secret Services, aiming at discovering what happened at the institute. This operation was conducted as part of Project Truth, most likely a large military campaign aimed at uncovering the secrets behind the X-laboratories and the zone. The investigation squad at Agroprom is referred as Search 2 Group, implying that there are several similar operations taking place in the zone. In fact, most military undertakings at the time of Shadow of Chernobyl must be connected to Project Truth, since it was the discoveries at Agroprom that started the chain of events leading to the raids of X-18, the Brain Scorcher, and even the power plant itself. Project Truth was made possible by the relative stability of the zone during the spring of 2012, when it is suspected that no emissions happened. Without emissions, the army was able to scan the zone for aerial anomalies, and thus could travel pretty much anywhere using helicopters, including to the very center of the zone. However, as we saw in Call of Pripyat, the restarting of frequent emissions provoked by the actions of Strelok completely messed up the military plans. Therefore, we can assume that Major Dekhtyrev's mission to find out why the choppers crashed was even more important than how it was presented at first, since the continuation of Project Truth basically depended on his success. Lastly, I would also like to mention that according to the documents, Operation Agroprom took place from May 12 to May 25, while Mark I woke up in Sidorovich's bunker on May 1st. This means that canonically, almost an entire month passed between the beginning of Shadow of Chernobyl and the stealing of the military documents at Agroprom. Meanwhile, all of this only takes 1 or 2 days in-game, so it is quite possible that the gameplay is very different from the real journey of the character in the lore. Fresh zombies. When the stalker's mind is taken over by psi emissions, his brain partially melts and he becomes a zombified stalker. However, this process is not instantaneous, and depending on the strength of the emissions, the results might be more or less severe. A fresh zombie is a person who became a zombie very recently or who was only partially zombified, thus keeping some of its more humane features. In Shadow of Chernobyl, a few of these fresh zombies can be found around Lab X-16. For example, one will spawn at the bottom after you disable the emitter. The only difference we can see from other zombified stalkers is that the fresh specimen still moves like a normal human, but it does make zombie sounds and does have a zombie face. Another more well-known case of fresh zombie is the insane stalker from the Freedom faction at the military warehouses.
I'm insane, I belong in an asylum!
Although we don't know for sure how he ended up in this condition. We can also mention the half-zombified monolith soldiers that can be seen near the Brain Scorcher. These are not really the same as fresh zombies, but the appearance of their faces clearly reminds of zombified stalkers. Moving on to Clear Sky, something very strange will happen after the cooling system in Yantar is restarted. During the mission with Lefty, the squad is attacked by many zombies coming from all directions. If some zombies are still alive after the operation succeeds, the drop in the psi emissions level will cause them to change behavior, and they will now move again like a normal human, just like the fresh zombies from Shadow of Chernobyl. I think this is probably some sort of bug, but there is no way to be sure. Finally, there is Topol's team in Call of Pripyat, which is ambushed by a controller. if you do not kill the monster quickly enough, the stalkers will be slowly zombified, turning into fresh zombies. In this case they will become hostile, but still move just like a normal person. S.T.A.L.K.E.R x Half-Life. Most of the first-person shooter games made in the 2000s drew some inspiration from Half-Life, the well-known game franchise made by Valve. S.T.A.L.K.E.R is no exception. The most obvious sign of this is an Easter egg found in the Wild Territory. Inside the tunnel, you can retrieve the dead body of Gordon Freeman, the protagonist of Half-Life. According to the notes from his PDA, Gordon was sent here in the zone after his previous adventures, but it looks like he could not survive. Near his corpse lies one of the unique weapons, the Big Ben, which is said to be a reference to the CEO of Valve, Gabe Newell. Apart from this crossover in plain sight, there are also many more subtle elements that suggest S.T.A.L.K.E.R drew some inspiration from Half-Life. We can identify some common themes, such as secret underground laboratories, a major disaster caused by the experiments, technologically advanced weapons, a struggling military, teleportation, charismatic characters, trains, and much more. The gameplay also shares strong similarities, like different types of damage, including environmental hazards, various enemies, each requiring different tactics to be defeated, mainly separated into two categories, being humans and monsters. All of that combined with changing environments to make for unique encounters. This is honestly just a surface analysis of what the two franchises have in common, as I believe this topic could even deserve its own video. Before moving on though, I would like to show a scene comparison that struck me.
What's the meaning of this? Who are you? How did you get in here?
Marked one? What the hell?
Artifacts in boxes. In Shadow of Chernobyl, some boxes have a chance to drop artifacts when broken. This is perfectly understandable, as stalkers would probably store their artifacts in such boxes. However, the areas in which this mechanic appears can be confusing. Most notably, this can happen in the underground X laboratories. I talked about this in previous videos, but one possibility is that these artifacts were found by the scientists working in the labs after the appearance of the zone, and they stored it here for further research. This would mean that the X labs continued to operate for a bit after the disaster of 2006, and they were actually abandoned later on for other reasons. Honestly, I think this is the case because we know that the development of the batteries for the Gauss rifle, which took place in the labs, did require electro-artifacts. So my assumption is that the birth of the zone did not kill all the scientists. Some of them got out of the labs to explore the zone and they found some artifacts. They used the artifacts for their research, and a few ended up in storage crates. Then, lack of supplies, mutant attacks and other disasters led to most of the labs being abandoned. But we don't know for sure, this is just my own theory. Going back to the artifacts in boxes, there is also another explanation. Some believe that artifacts are formed from normal objects, or matter, which is affected by anomalous environment. For example, old pieces of metal near an anomaly would slowly turn into an artifact. Just like the altered wheel in Zaton, although this one is kind of a unique occurrence. Nevertheless, it is possible that the crates in the X labs used to contain normal equipment, which was transformed into artifacts over time. Lastly, I need to mention one unique box in the sarcophagus, which will always contain a few wonderful artifacts. In my opinion, this is a monolith supply stash, but I could be wrong. Sidorovich's rankings. Did you ever wonder why the PDA features are so different between each game? I guess this has to do with the PDA model and who set it up. In Shadow of Chernobyl, the PDA has much more options than in Clear Sky and Call of Pripyat, including the contact section, the encyclopedia, and the famous rankings. At the beginning of the game, if you accept to be treated like a rookie by Sidorovich, he will give you a quick tutorial about the PDA and its features, revealing that he is actually the one behind the rankings.
You can see the top 20 stalkers I know. I refresh this info from time to time to keep up the competitive spirit. Maybe you'll be at the top of this list someday. Who knows? Your own achievements are noted in the stats section.
This explains why the rankings are absent in other games, and why they may be inaccurate, since it only shows the stalkers known by Sidorovich.
Oh, one more thing. Your PDA model has a wide-frequency radio wave scanner with an inbuilt decoder. Its radius of operation is about 400 meters, so you can even intercept military comms. Mine has a working radius of 30 kilometers, so I can always get in touch with you. I'll give you the tasks and the latest news. Initially, I'll give you advice, too. So, is everything clear, or should I repeat?
Here, it is also heavily suggested that all the special features on Mark I's PDA have actually been uploaded and set up by Sidorovich himself. Among such amazing features, we have the presence detector for other stalkers' PDAs, as well as a decoder to intercept military communications. Who knew Sidorovich was a computer genius? I'm just kidding, but honestly, I wish we had more information about the PDA network in the zone. Maybe I could do a video about that later on. And that's pretty much it about the first layer. Make sure to tell me your thoughts and theories in the comments below, and stay tuned for the next episode, in which we will review the second layer, the basement. Good hunting, stalkers.